Monaco is a paradox of geography and morality. It is less than 1 square mile of sovereign territory, yet it holds more wealth per capita than anywhere else on Earth. It is a place where the sun polishes the white stone of the casino until it gleams like bone, and the Mediterranean Sea acts as a mirror for the vanity of the super-rich. But on one weekend in May, the principality transforms. The winding streets, usually the domain of silent Rolls-Royces, become a gladiatorial arena. The Formula One Grand Prix descends upon Monte Carlo, bringing with it a sensory assault of burning rubber, high-octane fuel, and the deafening, bone-shaking scream of 19,000 RPM engines. For the hundreds of thousands of spectators crowding the grandstands and the VIPs sipping champagne on the decks of superyachts in the harbor, the noise is a thrill. It is the sound of money and power expressed in pure velocity. But for the 3 operatives sitting in a stifling rented van parked 3 streets away from the Saint-Devote corner, the noise was something else entirely. It was a shield. It was the only thing that could mask the electronic hum of their surveillance equipment and the inevitable mistakes that happen when human beings try to operate in a pressure cooker. Before we dive into the shadows of the Riviera and expose the machinery of this operation, take a moment to subscribe to the channel. We are documenting the history of invisible warfare, the operations they don't want you to know about. Hit the like button to support the research and turn on notifications. The next secret is already being whispered, and you won't want to miss it. The year was 2008. The financial world was teetering on the brink of collapse, but you would never know it looking at the harbor of Monaco. The money was still flowing, and where money flows, intelligence services follow. The target was not a general, nor a bomb maker, nor a political ideologue. The target was a man who looked like any other billionaire seeking tax exile in the playground of Europe. His name, or at least the name on his St. Kitts and Nevis passport, was Qasim al-Rifai. To the banking clerks in Geneva and the real estate agents in London, he was a venture capitalist with a diverse portfolio. To the analysts sitting in a windowless room in Tel Aviv, he was the Valve. Al-Rifai was the man who turned the chaotic, dirty cash of illicit activities, smuggling, extortion, siphoning, into clean digital currency that could purchase dual-use technology and logistical support for Hezbollah. He did not touch weapons. He touched ledgers. And because he operated in the gray zones of international finance, he was untouchable by conventional military means. You cannot drop a smart bomb on a bank account. You cannot send a drone to eliminate a wire transfer. To stop a man like Al-Rifai, you have to enter his world. You have to wear the mask of wealth, walk the red carpets, and destroy him from the inside out. The team selected for this mission was small, even by Mossad standards. The philosophy of the Caesarea unit has always been minimalism. Fewer moving parts mean fewer points of failure. Leading the team on the ground was a man operating under the alias Ari. Ari was in his late 40s, a veteran of the European theater. He did not look like a spy. He looked like a weary academic or a mid-level bureaucrat. A face so forgettable it seemed to slide off your memory the moment you looked away. That was his superpower. With him were Noah, a specialist in cyber infiltration who could social engineer her way into a fortress, and David, a surveillance artist who could track a target through a crowded bazaar or a silent museum without ever breaking stride. They had arrived in Nice separately, taking the train into Monaco like thousands of other tourists, carrying their equipment in Louis Vuitton bags that were convincing knockoffs. The mission parameters were strict. This was a blue and white operation. No noise, no mess, no diplomatic incidents on French or Monegasque soil. The objective was not to end Al-Rifai's life. That would only create a martyr, and someone else would pick up the checkbook. The objective was to burn his network. They needed to copy his encrypted ledger, the digital roadmap of every shell company and proxy donor funding the organization's next phase of expansion. And they had 48 hours to do it. The complication was the Grand Prix itself. The city was in lockdown. Security was tighter than a drum. The gendarmes were everywhere, supplemented by private security contractors watching the billionaires. Cameras covered every inch of the principality. To operate here was to perform surgery in a spotlight. But Ari knew that chaos is a ladder. The race brought noise, it brought crowds, and it brought distraction. While the world watched the cars screaming through the tunnel, Mossad would be watching the man on the yacht, waiting for him to make the one mistake that wealth convinces you that you are too powerful to make. To understand the complexity of the Monaco operation, one must first understand the target. Qasim al-Rifai was not born into the struggle. He was born into privilege in Beirut, educated at the London School of Economics, and finished with an MBA from Wharton. He wore bespoke Italian suits, collected vintage watches, and had a palate for fine wines that contradicted the austere public image of the organization he served. This dichotomy was what made him so effective. He could sit at a dinner table with European bankers and discuss market volatility with genuine insight, all while calculating how to move $10 million into a front company in South America. The intelligence file on al-Rifai was thick, yet frustratingly vague on actionable details. Mossad's financial tracking unit, Harpoon, had spent 3 years trying to pin down his methods. They knew he moved money, but they couldn't prove how. Every time they thought they had identified a bank account linked to him, the funds would evaporate, split into thousands of microtransactions, bouncing through the Cayman Islands, Singapore, and Liechtenstein before disappearing into the opaque banking system of Beirut. He was a financial ghost. But ghosts eventually have to manifest to feed. Intelligence gleaned from a compromised server in Cyprus had indicated that al-Rifai was coming to Monaco not for the race, but for what happened in the shadows of the race. The Grand Prix is a unique event in the global calendar. It is one of the few places where Russian oligarchs, Arab royalty, European industrialists, and Asian tech magnates congregate in a physically small space. Deals are made on the aft decks of yachts that shift the geopolitical balance of the world. The intelligence indicated that al-Rifai was scheduled to meet a white whale, a donor or a facilitator of such high value that the meeting could not be entrusted to intermediaries or encrypted emails. It had to be face-to-face. The identity of this contact was unknown. If Mossad could identify the contact and secure the contents of the transaction, they wouldn't just burn al-Rifai. They could potentially unravel a funding network that spanned 3 continents. But al-Rifai was paranoid. His security detail was not the standard thugs in leather jackets. He hired former French Foreign Legionnaires, professionals who knew counter-surveillance as well as the team hunting them. He changed his phones daily. He never slept in the same room 2 nights in a row. He treated his life like a clandestine operation. He thinks he is one of us, Ari had said during the briefing in a safe house in Tel Aviv weeks earlier. He thinks he understands the game. That is his weakness. He believes his intelligence is superior to everyone else's. We don't need to outgun him. We need to outsmart him. The plan relied on the specific geography of Monaco. Al-Rifai had rented a berth for a chartered super yacht, the Obsidian, located in Zone 1 of Port Hercules. This was the prime real estate right alongside the track. The cost for the weekend was astronomical, likely exceeding $1 million. This ostentatious display was a cover. By placing himself in the center of the most public event on Earth, al-Rifai was betting that no intelligence service would dare to touch him. It was the philosophy of hiding in plain sight taken to its extreme. However, the yacht presented a massive technical challenge. Superyachts are essentially floating Faraday cages, laden with steel and electronic countermeasures. Pointing a laser microphone at the hull to pick up vibrations from conversation inside would be useless. The engines of the F1 cars, echoing off the harbor walls, would drown out any dialogue. The team couldn't just tap a phone line because al-Rifai used satellite uplinks that were encrypted with military-grade algorithms. This meant the operation had to be physical. Someone had to get close. Someone had to breach the digital perimeter of the Obsidian or, riskier still, get boots on the deck. For Noah, the cyber specialist, the challenge was thrilling. Every system has a flaw, she reasoned. The more expensive the yacht, the more automated it is. Climate control, entertainment systems, navigation, security, it's all networked. And if it's networked, I can talk to it. But talking to the system required proximity. The Wi-Fi signal of the yacht wouldn't reach the shore with enough strength to be manipulated without a high-gain antenna that would look suspicious. They needed to be within 50 meters. In the crush of the harbor, amidst the tender boats and the partying crowds, 50 meters was intimate. The stage was set. A financier convinced of his own invincibility, a team of operatives operating on enemy terrain with no backup, and a city screaming at 130 decibels. The weekend was about to begin, and the first move belonged to the Mossad. Insertion into Monaco during the Grand Prix is a logistical nightmare for a tourist, let alone for an intelligence cell carrying restricted hardware. The principality is effectively sealed off. Vehicles are searched, identities are checked, and the facial recognition cameras are running hot, cross-referencing every face against Europol and Interpol databases. Ari, Noah, and David did not arrive together. That is the first rule. Never bundle your assets. Ari arrived via a helicopter transfer from Nice-Côte d'Azur Airport. His cover, his legend, was that of a corporate archivist for a mid-sized Swiss insurance firm, visiting to entertain a few clients. It was boring, respectable, and explained why a man of his age was traveling alone with a briefcase. The helicopter ride was a calculated risk. It bypassed the road checks, and the customs processing at the heliport was swift, geared towards waving through wealth rather than scrutinizing it. David entered by train. He played the role of a freelance photographer, a common species during the race weekend. His camera bag was filled with genuine high-end Nikon lenses, but hidden within the battery grip of his DSLR was a high-frequency receiver designed to sniff out Bluetooth and Wi-Fi handshakes. He blended perfectly with the scruffy, harried press corps, his press pass, a masterpiece of forgery created by the graphics department back in Israel. Noah took the most daring route. She drove in. She was behind the wheel of a rented vintage Alfa Romeo convertible, wearing a silk scarf and oversized sunglasses. Her legend was that of a trust fund girlfriend of a driver in the Porsche Super Cup support race. It was a shallow, vapid cover that allowed her to be demanding, ask stupid questions, and be generally ignored by serious people. No one suspects the girl taking selfies is running a packet sniffer on her phone. They convened not in a hotel room, which could be bugged, but in the open air, walking through the Princess Grace Rose Garden. The scent of thousands of blooms hung heavy in the air, masking the tension. "The Obsidian is docked at T Jetty," David reported, keeping his voice low, his eyes scanning the horizon. "I did a pass. Security is heavy. 2 guards at the gangway, visible, likely 2 more inside. The crew is rushing around, prepping for a party tonight." "That's our window for visual confirmation." "Electronic signature?" Ari asked, admiring a white rose to hide his mouth movement. "It's a fortress," Noah replied, adjusting her sunglasses. "They are running a localized jamming field. My scanner went dead 10 meters from the hull. They are blocking everything in and out that isn't on their white-listed frequency. Al-Rifai isn't taking chances. He's expecting surveillance," Ari mused. "But he's expecting it from the French or the Americans. He thinks they rely on satellites and SIGINT, signals intelligence. He's not expecting someone to walk through the front door." "We can't walk through the front door, Ari," David said. "Those guards are ex-Legion. They'll break our necks before we step off the dock." "We don't go to the yacht yet," Ari corrected. "We let the yacht come to us." Al-Rifai is a creature of ego. He won't stay cooped up on the boat all weekend. He has to show his face. He has to gamble. It's part of the persona. Tonight, he will be at the Casino de Monte Carlo. That is where we clone him. The plan was audacious. They couldn't hack the yacht from the outside, so they needed a key. Al-Rifai would be carrying a phone, a PDA, or an access card. Modern digital security often relies on near-field communication, NFC or RFID. If Noah could get close enough to him, physically bump into him, she could use a skimmer to clone the digital signature of his access devices. With that digital key, the jamming field on the yacht would recognize them as friendly. But the Casino de Monte Carlo is not a public park. It is one of the most exclusive gambling venues in the world. The dress code is strict, the buy-ins are high, and the surveillance is better than most government facilities. They needed to get Noah inside, close enough to touch a man guarded by professionals, in a room where looking suspicious gets you banned for life. "I need a dress," Noah said, a small smile playing on her lips. "And I need a bankroll. We can't play the penny slots." "You have the budget," Ari said. "But remember, the money isn't real. It's operational funds. Don't enjoy losing it." As they separated, the first practice session of the Formula One cars began. The roar erupted from the track, a physical wave of sound that shook the leaves of the rose bushes. The ground trembled. The operation had begun, ticking in time with the engines screaming through the city streets. The Casino de Monte Carlo at night is a theater of the absurd. It is a place where millions of euros change hands with the flip of a card, and the air smells of expensive perfume and desperate hope. The architecture is Belle Epoque, gilded and ornate, designed to make the extraction of wealth feel like a royal privilege. Al-Rifai arrived at 11 p.m. He stepped out of a black Bentley, flanked by two of his security detail. He looked every inch the master of the universe, tuxedo perfectly tailored, a cigar in hand, a look of bored amusement on his face. He didn't look like a man funding terror cells in the Bikaya Valley. He looked like a man who owned the valley. Inside, the hum of conversation was low and polite. Noah was already there. She was wearing an emerald green evening gown that drew the eye just enough to be appreciated, but not enough to be memorable. She was seated at a roulette table, idly playing chips on the black. David was at the bar, nursing a martini that was mostly water, his eyes tracking the reflection of the room in the mirror behind the bottles. Ari was outside, sitting on a bench in the gardens, monitoring the radio chatter of the security teams. He was the eye in the sky, though his view was limited to audio feeds and intuition. Target is moving to the salons privés. David's voice crackled in Noah's earpiece, hidden beneath her hair. High-stakes baccarat room. You need to move now. The salons privés require a separate invitation, or a massive credit line. Mossad had arranged the latter through a front company in Luxembourg. Noah stood up, gathering her chips. She moved with the fluid grace of someone who belongs in a palace. She bypassed the velvet rope, flashing a membership card that had been printed only 6 hours ago, but looked indistinguishable from the real thing. Inside the private room, the atmosphere changed. It was quieter, sharper. There were fewer people, but the piles of chips were rectangular plaques, each worth thousands. Al-Rifai was seated at the center table. He was laughing, holding court. Noah approached the table. She didn't look at him. She looked at the game. She placed a stack of plaques on the player bet. "Bold," Al-Rifai said, glancing at her. His eyes lingered for a fraction of a second, the assessment of a predator. "Fortune favors the bold, doesn't it?" Noah replied, her French flawless. She moved closer. The skimmer was in her evening bag, a device modified to boost its range to about 30 centimeters. She needed to get the bag next to his jacket pocket, where the bulge of a smartphone was visible. The game proceeded. Cards were dealt. Money was lost and won. Noah played the role of the bored heiress perfectly, sighing at losses, smiling vaguely at wins. Slowly, incrementally, she shifted her position. She feigned a stumble as a waiter passed with a tray of drinks, losing her balance for a split second. She brushed against Al-Rifai. "Pardon," she whispered, her hand resting on his arm for stability, her bag pressed against his side. "Careful, mademoiselle," one of the bodyguards said, stepping in instantly, his hand moving to block her. He was fast. Too fast. Noah pulled back, flashing a dazzling, apologetic smile. "Too much champagne," she said breathlessly. She retreated to her space. Had it worked? The device in her bag had no screen, only a tiny haptic feedback motor. She waited. 1 second. 2 seconds. Buzz. A single short vibration against her hip. The handshake was complete. She had cloned the RFID tag of his access card and likely grabbed the handshake token of his phone's Bluetooth. "I'm out," she whispered into the comms, barely moving her lips. "Don't run." Ari's voice came back, calm and steady. "Finish the hand. Leave like you're bored." She watched the dealer turn the cards. She lost the hand. She shrugged, turned and walked away, leaving 10,000 euros on the table. To Al-Rifai, she was just another clumsy socialite. He turned back to his cards, unaware that he had just handed the keys to his fortress to the Mossad. The data Noah stole was a digital skeleton key, but a key is useless if you can't reach the lock. The obsidian remained a formidable target. The next morning, Monaco was vibrating with the Saturday qualifying sessions. The noise was louder now, more urgent. The cars were fighting for grid position, and the crowds were thick, pressing against the fences. The team regrouped in the van. Noah was typing furiously on a ruggedized laptop. "I have the clone," she said. It's a standard high-security marine access protocol. With this, we can bypass the perimeter alarm on the yacht. But the internal servers? They are air-gapped. I can't touch the financial ledger from here. Someone has to go on board and physically plug a drive into the main server in his office. The office is on the upper deck, aft, David said, pulling up schematics of the yacht model they had sourced from the manufacturer's database. But there are sensors in the hallway, and the door is biometric. Fingerprint. We don't have his finger, Ari said grimly. We have his prints, Noah corrected, from the casino. I palmed his glass before the waiter took it. I can print a synthetic overlay for you, David. Me? David asked. You're the photographer, Ari said. And tonight there is a party on the Obsidian, a big one. Al-Rifai is hosting half the paddock. Catering staff, models, DJs, and press. Not press, David said. He hates journalists. He hates journalists who ask questions, Ari said. He loves photographers who make him look powerful. We intercepted the guest list. A specialized luxury lifestyle magazine is covering the event. Their photographer has a flu. A very sudden, very severe stomach flu that started about an hour ago after he ate a sandwich delivered to his hotel room. David grimaced. You poisoned a civilian. I gave him a laxative, Ari said unapologetically. He will be fine on Monday. You are his replacement. We hacked the agency's email. You have the credentials. You go in. You take pictures of beautiful people. You find a moment. You slip away. You enter the office. You plug in the drive. You get out. And if I get caught? Then you are a thief, Ari said. You are trying to steal a watch or a camera. You admit to theft. You go to jail. We get you a lawyer. You say nothing about Mossad. You say nothing about Hezbollah. You are just a greedy photographer. It was the standard burn instruction. If caught, you are a criminal, not a spy. Being a criminal in Monaco gets you deported. Being a spy gets you disappeared. The sun began to set, casting long shadows over the harbor. The lights of the yachts flickered on, turning the port into a floating city of neon. The Obsidian was lit up in purple and gold. Music was already thumping from its decks. David checked his equipment. The drive was disguised as a standard SD memory card for his camera. If searched, it looked like storage for photos. But plugged into a USB adapter, it carried a payload of military-grade malware designed to scrape every byte of data from a hard drive in under 3 minutes. Remember, Ari said as David adjusted his bow tie, the noise is your friend. But on a yacht, the floorboards creak. Tread lightly. David nodded, grabbed his camera bag, and walked toward the T-jetty. He was walking into the lion's den, armed only with a camera and a fake fingerprint glued to his thumb. The party on the Obsidian was an assault on the senses. Champagne flowed like water from magnums the size of toddlers. The bass from the speakers vibrated in the chest. Models draped in diamonds laughed at jokes they couldn't hear. It was a display of excess that bordered on the grotesque. The kind of scene where the moral compass spins freely and points nowhere. David moved through the crowd, snapping photos. Flash, smile, flash, turn. He played the part perfectly. Obsequious, invisible, documenting the vanity of the guests. He saw Al-Rifai holding court near the jacuzzi, a drink in one hand, a cigar in the other. He was relaxed, in his element. David checked his watch. 11:42 p.m. The white whale, the mysterious contact, was supposed to arrive at midnight. The meeting would likely take place in the office or the main salon. David needed to plant the malware before that meeting started. He worked his way toward the aft staircase leading to the upper deck. A security guard stood at the bottom, arms crossed, wearing an earpiece. "Private area, sir," the guard said in French, stepping in front of David. Apologies," David said, playing the confused artist. Mr. Al-Rifai asked for some shots from the upper balcony, the view of the palace at night, for the magazine cover. It was a lie, but a plausible one. The guard hesitated. He tapped his earpiece. "Boss, photographer says you want shots from the upper deck?" David's heart hammered against his ribs. If Al-Rifai answered, it was over. But the music was loud. Al-Rifai was busy. The response came from a distracted assistant. Yeah, whatever, just keep him away from the guests' bedrooms." The guard stepped aside. 5 minutes, don't touch anything." "Merci," David said. He ascended the stairs. The upper deck was quieter. The air was salty and cool. He moved quickly down the teak-lined corridor. Guest suite, master suite, office. The door to the office was heavy mahogany. Next to it was a small panel. David pressed his thumb, the one with the synthetic print, against the scanner. A beat of silence, a green light, a soft click. He slipped inside and closed the door. The silence was sudden and absolute. The soundproofing was incredible. He was in a different world, a world of leather, dark wood, and the faint hum of a server rack hidden behind a panel. He found the computer terminal. It was logged out, but the tower was accessible. He didn't need to log in. He just needed to plug the drive into a rear port. He reached behind the machine, his fingers fumbling in the dark. He found the USB slot. He pushed the modified SD card reader in. On the screen of his camera, a small red dot turned green. The upload had begun. 3 minutes. He moved to the window, peering through the blinds. Down on the dock, a black Mercedes van had just pulled up. The side door slid open. A man stepped out. He was older, gray-haired, wearing a nondescript suit. He didn't look like a warlord or a terrorist. He looked like a European bureaucrat. David zoomed in with his telephoto lens. Click, click. He got the face. The door to the office handle turned. David froze. He was trapped. The upload was at 40%. The door was opening. There was nowhere to hide in the minimalist office except behind the heavy drapes or under the massive desk. He chose the drapes. He slid behind the heavy velvet fabric just as the door swung open. Al-Rifai walked in, and he wasn't alone. "It is safe here," Al-Rifai said. "No bugs, no ears, just us." The second voice was accented, German or Swiss. "You are too confident, Qasim. The Israelis are everywhere." "Not here," Al-Rifai laughed. "They are chasing shadows in Beirut. Pour yourself a drink, Heinrich. We have business." David stopped breathing. He was 3 feet away from the target, separated only by a piece of cloth, while a data heist was running on the computer 5 feet away. If the computer screen woke up, or if the drive made a sound, or if Al-Rifai simply decided to look out the window, the operation had gone from a surveillance mission to a hostage situation in the blink of an eye. And the hostage was David. The tension in the room was a physical weight. David pressed himself against the cold glass of the window, the velvet drapes enveloping him like a shroud. He could smell the cigar smoke wafting from Al-Rifai, a pungent, expensive aroma that made his nose itch. He fought the urge to sneeze, pinching the bridge of his nose until it hurt. "The transfer must happen tomorrow," the visitor Heinrich said. His voice was dry, precise. "My bank in Zurich is under pressure from the Americans. The new sanctions are problematic. We cannot use the usual channels." "Problematic for you, Heinrich," Al-Rifai replied, the clink of crystal indicating he was pouring drinks. "For me, it is just another Tuesday." "How much?" 50 million, Heinrich said. "In diamonds, uncut, originating from Sierra Leone, certified through Antwerp as conflict-free. The paperwork is perfect." David's mind raced. Diamonds, the ultimate untraceable currency. $50 million would fund Hezbollah's operations for months. Rockets, training camps, intelligence networks. This wasn't just money laundering. This was war logistics. "And the delivery?" Al-Rifai asked. "During the race," Heinrich said. "Tomorrow, when the cars are on the track, the noise, the chaos. It is the perfect distraction. My courier will bring the package to the Paddock Club, Suite 304. You will have the transfer codes ready." "Done," Al-Rifai said. "To the resistance." "To profit," Heinrich corrected. David glanced at his camera screen, shielded by his body. Upload complete. The little green light was steady. He had the ledger. He had the proof of the network. But now he had something more valuable. The time and place of the handover. The two men finished their drinks quickly. Al-Rifai was eager to return to his party. "Come, Heinrich. Let me introduce you to a Russian model who thinks Zurich is a type of vodka." They laughed. The door opened and closed. David waited a full minute before moving. He exhaled, a long, shaky breath. He stepped out from the drapes, his legs feeling like jelly. He retrieved the drive from the back of the computer. He checked the room, no signs of his presence. He wiped the door handle with his handkerchief. He slipped out of the office. The hallway was empty. He descended the stairs, his camera raised, snapping photos of the crowd as if nothing had happened. He found the exit. He walked past the guard. "Good shots?" the guard grunted. "Beautiful," David said. "Just beautiful." He walked off the gangway, onto the solid concrete of the dock. He didn't run. He walked until he turned the corner of the T-jetty, out of sight of the Obsidian. Then his pace quickened. He tapped his earpiece. "Package secure," he whispered. "And we have a new objective. Tomorrow, Paddock Club." Sunday morning in Monaco is a religious experience for petrol heads. The anticipation hangs in the air like static electricity. The race was scheduled to start at 2 p.m. By 10 a.m., the city was impassable. The Mossad team was running on adrenaline and caffeine. They were huddled in a safe apartment now, a small studio Noah had rented under a false name in Beausoleil, just across the French border, overlooking the Principality. "We have the ledger," Noah said, pointing to the laptop screen. "It's a gold mine, names, accounts, shell companies. We can freeze his assets within a week, but the diamonds," Ari finished. 50 million in portable wealth. If he gets those stones, he disappears. He doesn't need the banks anymore. "Suite 304 Paddock Club," David said. "That's right above the pit lane. It's the most exclusive area of the track. Security is tighter than the airport. You need a pass that costs $5,000 just to get in the elevator." "We don't need to get in," Ari said, staring at the map of the track. "We need to intercept the courier before he gets to the suite." Heinrich said during the race, David recalled. "That gives us a 2-hour window. The courier will likely come via the VIP tender or the pedestrian bridge." "We split up," Ari decided. "Noah, you monitor the paddock entrance cameras. You look for anyone carrying a briefcase or a secure bag who matches the profile of a courier, nervous, holding on too tight. David, you take the bridge. I will take the tender dock." "And if we find him?" David asked. "We can't shoot him, Ari. There are thousands of people." "We don't shoot," Ari said, pulling a small silver case from his bag. He opened it to reveal 3 syringes. Sedative, ketamine blend, fast-acting. He bumps into you, he feels a prick. 10 seconds later, he feels woozy. 20 seconds later, he is sleeping on a bench. We take the bag. We disappear. "In the middle of a crowd?" Noah asked, skeptical. "The crowd is watching the cars," Ari said. "When the lights go out and those engines start, you could scream at the top of your lungs and the person next to you wouldn't hear it. The noise is our cover. The start of the Monaco Grand Prix is a moment of pure violence. The lights go out, and 20 cars accelerate simultaneously. The sound is not just heard, it is felt in the teeth, in the bones. It echoes off the apartment buildings, creating a canyon of noise." Ari stood near the tender dock, wearing the uniform of a track marshal. Orange jumpsuit, headset. It was a stolen uniform acquired from a laundry van earlier that morning. It allowed him to stand in restricted areas without being questioned. David was on the pedestrian bridge, pushed against the railing by the crush of fans. He was scanning faces, his eyes watering from the exhaust fumes rising from the track below. Noah was in the van, cycling through CCTV feeds. "I have a possible," she said. Male, mid-30s, carrying a metallic Halliburton case, handcuffed to his wrist. He's coming from the train station direction, heading to the Paddock Bridge. "David, he's yours," Ari commanded. David spotted him. The man looked out of place. He wasn't wearing team colors. He was wearing a suit in the heat, sweating profusely. He was clutching the case like it contained a bomb. "I have eyes on," David said. "He's entering the crush on the bridge. It's tight. Take him before the checkpoint," Ari said. David moved. He pushed through the crowd, using his elbows. "Excuse me, sorry. Press coming through." The courier was 10 meters ahead. 5 meters. The cars screamed underneath the bridge, a Doppler effect wail that shattered thought. David closed the gap. He uncapped the syringe in his pocket. He needed to make it look like an accident, a stumble in the crowd. Just as David reached out, the courier stopped. He turned around, looking behind him. He was spooked. He wasn't looking at David. He was looking at a gendarme patrol pushing through the crowd. The courier panicked. He didn't wait for the checkpoint. He turned and shoved a woman aside, bolting toward the emergency stairs leading down to the street level. "He's rabbiting," David shouted into his mic. "He saw the cops. He's heading down to the Rascasse corner." "Don't let him lose you," Ari shouted. "I'm moving to intercept." The courier was fast. He sprinted down the stairs, bursting onto the street level behind the grandstands. This area was a maze of food stalls, merchandise tents, and drunken fans. David vaulted the railing of the stairs, risking a broken ankle, and landed running. He saw the silver case bobbing through the sea of red Ferrari shirts. The courier was heading toward the harbor, trying to find another way to the yacht, bypassing the Paddock Club. He was improvising. Ari was running from the tender dock, shedding his orange Marshall vest to reveal a black t-shirt underneath. He was cutting through a VIP dining area, jumping over tables, ignoring the shouts of angry diners. "He's cornered," Ari said. "He's heading for the floating pontoon behind the Rascasse bar. It's a dead end unless he has a boat waiting." The courier reached the edge of the water. He looked frantically left and right. There was no boat. He was trapped between the harbor water and the approaching Mossad agents. David slowed down, approaching with hands raised. "It's over," he said, though the man couldn't hear him over the race cars passing just 20 meters away behind the fence. The courier looked at the case, then at the water. He was going to throw it. $50 million in diamonds, about to sink into the pollution of Port Hercules. "No!" David lunged. The courier swung the metal case like a weapon. It connected with David's shoulder with a sickening crack. David grunted, falling to one knee. The courier turned to jump into the water. Ari hit him like a freight train. He tackled the man around the waist, driving him into a stack of empty beer kegs. The kegs clattered everywhere, rolling and bouncing. The courier fought wildly, punching and kicking. But Ari was a veteran of close-quarters combat. He didn't punch, he applied mechanics. He secured the man's arm, twisted it against the joint, and applied pressure to the carotid artery. The courier's eyes bulged, then rolled back. He went limp. Ari stood up, panting, checking his surroundings. The noise of the race had masked the fight completely. To the few people nearby, it looked like a drunk fight, a common sight at the GP. "Get the key," Ari gasped. David, clutching his shoulder, rifled through the courier's pockets. He found a small key. He unlocked the handcuff attaching the case to the unconscious man's wrist. "Got it," David said, lifting the heavy silver case. "Go," Ari said. "I'll stabilize him and leave him for the cops to find. They'll think he's passed out from heat stroke." They didn't go back to the van. The van was compromised. It had been in one place too long. They enacted the scatter protocol. David took the case to the train station. He went into a bathroom stall, opened the case, and transferred the pouches of diamonds into his camera bag, burying them under lenses and cables. He wiped the case down and left it in the stall. He boarded the next train to Italy, not Nice. He would cross the border to Ventimiglia, then fly from Milan. Noah wiped the hard drives in the apartment. She sanitized the room, removing fingerprints and DNA traces. She drove the Alfa Romeo to the rental return at Nice airport, playing the part of the exhausted party girl. She flew out to Zurich. Ari took the longest route. He stayed in Monaco until the race ended. He watched the podium ceremony, watched the champagne spray. He waited until the crowds began to disperse. He took a bus to Nice, then a train to Marseille, then a ferry to Corsica. From there, he vanished. By the time the sun set on Sunday, the team was gone. The diamonds were gone. The data was in Tel Aviv. Monday morning in Monaco was a hangover. The streets were being cleaned, the barriers dismantled. On the Obsidian, Qasim al-Rifai waited and waited. Heinrich called, furious, accusing al-Rifai of stealing the diamonds. Al-Rifai accused Heinrich of never sending them. The partnership collapsed in a scream of paranoia, but the real blow came on Wednesday. In banks across Switzerland, Lebanon, and the Caribbean, screens turned red. Accounts were frozen. Assets were seized. The data David had stolen from the yacht had been processed by Mossad analysts and shared strategically with the U.S. Treasury and European intelligence agencies. They didn't name al-Rifai publicly. They simply turned off his money. The valve had been shut. Al-Rifai found himself in Monaco with $1 million bill for the yacht and credit cards that were declined. His security detail, unpaid, abandoned him. He was left standing on the dock, a king without a kingdom. He attempted to return to Beirut, but Hezbollah does not forgive failure, especially failure that costs them $50 million and exposes their entire financial infrastructure. Al-Rifai disappeared somewhere in Syria a few months later. Some say he is in a prison, others say he is in a shallow grave. The Monaco operation was never officially acknowledged. There were no medals awarded. The only record of it exists in a classified file in Tel Aviv, labeled Operation Gilded Cage. And somewhere in the storage vaults of the Mossad, there is a small pouch of uncut diamonds, waiting to be used to fund the next operation in the shadows. Because the war never ends. It just changes venues.